People of YouTube, it is Multiplier here to show you how to make a sound. And that sound sounds like this. I have called the sound Run Away from Giant Butterfly. Brackets, also the butterfly shoots computer pixels. It's what I imagine when I hear this sound. Madness. Right, there are two key important, or at least in my opinion, interesting ideas about this sound. First of all, the pitch. There are two oscillators modulating pitch for oscillator A, LFO1 and LFO2. Note the matrix. LFO1 and LFO2 are modulating coarse pitch for oscillator A. First of all, LFO1. LFO1 is in bipolar mode. Bipolar, that means it goes both ways. Double click for typable values is turned on. Therefore, if I double click this and type in 24ST for 24 semitones, 2 octaves, that means that this modulation is 2 octaves. But because it goes both ways, that means the middle of this modulation for LFO1 is neutral. The modulation goes both ways and the total modulation is 2 octaves, and therefore the middle is neutral, and then it goes 1 octave either way. And therefore, looking at this LFO1, you can see neutral, neutral, ping up an octave, ping up an octave, neutral, ping up an octave, and then it pings down an octave, or goes from an octave up to an octave down, so 2 octaves down, and then pings back up to neutral. In fact, I can isolate that for you with a bit of clicking. Fantastic. Just get that back and turn the filter back on. Boink. The next modulation for pitch is LFO2, which is doing a sort of thing. Sort of does a whoop-de-whoop at the beginning, like a bit of a pitch bend, like a wow sort of thing, right at the front. Actually, I can make it bypass to the other one so you can hear this more clearly. So this is the modulation from LFO2. Oh, I'll turn off the filter as well, make it even clearer. See how there's a bit of a whoop-de-whoop, and then it goes to a new pitch, and then it goes down to a different pitch, and then a bit of a whoop-de-whoop. Sort of freaky and out of time, and the pitches aren't proper pitches. They're not normal notes on the keyboard. They're just pretty random in the modulation space. Remembering that's a full octave, and that's not anywhere in particular. That's just where I left it. But that's okay. It enhances some of the computer vibe, having a non-standard pitch and atonal sort of pitch. So whoop-de-whoop, and then it goes up and then down, and then a whoop-de-whoop. But then when combined with the other one, it's sort of chaos and fun and excitement. Love it. Awesome. The next interesting idea is what I've done with the filter. If I turn it on, it helps. Notice the stereo width, the 3D space created by the sound. Observe what's happening. In fact, if I click LFO, try and correlate the century bit that, lost where I am, mostly in the center, off to the side, mostly in the center, off to the side. Notice looking at LFO1 where the bit off to the side is relative to the century bit. See how it's this LFO1 that's determining when it sort of out words, when it sort of out off to the side. It's cool, right? But what exactly is happening here? Basically, I'm using the stereo filter offset in combination with modulating the cutoff position of the filter. Now, the whole time through this, I have the stereo filter offset off to the side. Although you can't see it until I click here because I assigned a macro. I'm making a preset pack at the moment. So this macro is on full right. Therefore, the actual position of this control, remember macro 100%, the actual position of this pan on the filter is where the sort of head of the mouse is now, off to the side. That means I'm using stereo filter offset. What that does is apply a different cutoff value with cutoff filter value for the left speaker versus the right. So this has a different cutoff value to that, or through your ear holes using a set of headphones. And what that does is create stereo width. In fact, if I remove or turn down this macro, you can hear the non-widened version for reference. All in the center, but with the wider stereo filter offset. But multiplier, it only appears to be wide for the end bit where the LFO1 is down low. Why is that happening? Interesting, an interesting point here, and that's to do with the cutoff. Notice that for this filter, keep your eyes on the filter now. It's only modulating cutoff position, but when the cutoff position is way loads over to the left, super way loads, super way much louder loads over to the left, there. I will construct a more simple sentence. When the cutoff value for the filter is all the way to the left, or mostly to the left, then you're hearing most of the frequency spectrum being filtered, whereas when it's to the right, it's only in a much more subtle way, and it's only really the higher frequencies that are being filtered. And therefore, when the cutoff value is to the right, you don't hear much of this stereo filter offset, and therefore you don't hear much width. Whereas when it's to the left, you do hear more of this filter, and therefore you do hear more of the stereo filter offset, and therefore you do hear more of this width. Does that kind of make sense? Notice when the LFO is modulated to the right, it's only the higher frequencies and in a much more subtle way that are being filtered, whereas when it goes down, the whole thing sort of springs to life and you see a lot more of this comb filtering. So the higher frequencies, the really high frequencies, do have this stereo width the whole time, so it does still sound wide and cool and interesting and ting. But the main heart of it, the century frequencies, they only get widened when the cutoff value goes to the left, which is the lower half of this LFO1 modulation. Ah, butterflies! I'll do it again. I let go too. Nailed it. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool, right? Two interesting ideas, I think, about this sound. I suppose there's a little bit of a bonus. It's rather subtle in this case. I do have this LFO1 modulating the level of the noise filter, so therefore this additional noise layer, rather subtle how I've configured it, but this additional noise layer is coming in time with the modulation, so it's not just like so it doesn't sound like a bit of bolted on noise, it sounds like it's a part of the sound. Just a little idea there, but to my ears, mind, spirit, soul, at least, the two most interesting parts of this sound are the modulation of the pitch, two different LFOs, and the fact one of them is bipolar or bidirectional, so you can kind of have a neutral pitch and then exactly an octave up and exactly an octave down. I find that interesting, and also the whole idea of stereo filter offset and how it's mostly in the center apart from the very highest frequencies, and then it sort of pings out to the sides as the filter does more of this comb filtering with the stereo filter offset. Fantastic. And there you have it, people, and there you have it. My name has been Multiplier, and I will catch you guys running away from the giant butterfly. Don't underestimate butterflies, they're dangerous.